Alright, Unimog transfer case seal. It's going to have to be replaced. It's all good in the front end, but it's pissing out oil here now. So I'm going to take this boot off, pull its housing back and go from there. Except at the moment, pissing oil all the way down here. It's going all over the place. So here we go. These bolts keep going finger loose all the time. Must be the wrong bolts. Right, so I've taken the boot off and there's no oil in there. So that's looking dry as dry, which means there's no leak coming out of that part. But these bolts here do not look original. They're all loose, finger loose, just spinning around. So I wonder if the oil's getting out here. There's a bit of oil on these bolts that are coming out of this first section of housing here. Right, so that crack there should not be there. Obviously, that's got to get sealed back up. All the top part here looks good. Gearbox, can't see any oil anywhere around there. It's all looking good. The first bit of housing has been pulled back, and there's a bit of oil in there. Yep. Oops. So you can see here, that whole front housing is loose. Well, I was about to drain the gearbox oil, took out the plug, and there's no oil in there. And that's why it was all under the truck. Well, lucky there's still some coming out of the side dump. Whew, how much we got? Oh, not as bad as I thought. Thank Christ for that. Still not pretty. It's 4 litres. Five litres. A bit of an angle, so about 6 litres. Should be 10.5, so about 6.5. Lost about 4 litres. Alright, so I've pulled the drive shaft back and got the plastic covers out. These things, which wrap around that thing, and a bit of oil dripping here. So here we go. I'll just show you how I've done that. Just a couple of straps attached to there, and just at whatever point under here. Alright, update on the MOG project to replace this seal. So I've pulled the drivetrain back as far as I can using that thing. And now, come around here and show you. So I've got this in a pretty good spot, and I've got the first one of those 4 loose with a size 19 ring spanner. So we'll see how we go. 3 undone. 1 to go. Yeehaw. Alright, so I've put the jack there to support the torque tube so I can lower that once the last bolt's undone on the uni joint. A bit of backup. And I've also taken those straps off so the lines are free. So they're not going to get pulled down and the torque tube comes down. Right, I got 3 out. I cannot get this one out. It's an absolute bastard. I've got nowhere to... So I'm hitting on the bloody rail here. And I can only get onto there. And then as I swing, the spanner bloody rides up on that and lifts off the bolt. I'll try a liquid spanner, and I can't get any swing from up top either. Well, it's a great day. Took a bit of leverage. The old spanner on the spanner job, but I believe I've got this bloody thing loose. Yep, got it. All right, so next step, as I undo this sucker, I'm told I've got to get a block of wood in there so I don't lose my fingers. We'll see how we go. So before I do this, undo this last bolt and the torque tube drops down, I've got a couple of fail safes. So putting a sling there so it can't drop and crush me. Got the jack so I can lower it down slowly, as long as it stays on the jack, and just that stand as well. So I should be safe. All right, all 4 bolts are now out, and it's a bit of an anticlimax. I was expecting something to jump at me or go crashing down or something, but so far it's just, you can see it's separated there. And now I suppose I'll have to just pull that back and drop it down. All right, that was easy, just to get it back away from the housing there. All it took was a few ratchets on that thing. Just like that. All right, so let's slowly let it down, see what happens. Have to pull it back a bit first. All right, so I'll just do a few more pulls on that ratchet. Pulled it back again. And down she comes. Nice and slow. Just got to move this thing down a bit more. Alright, we'll stop her there. That should be enough. And let's have a look. Alright, cool. So I've got to undo those 2 bolts. Behind that apparently is the seal. So I'll just brace all this up before I get under it. Away we go. Alright, so you got to have it in gear to undo these bolts. Otherwise the whole lot just spins around. So this plate here comes off. That's the seal that I've got to replace, by the way. Which must be somewhere in there, behind that thing, I guess. Don't know how to get that out. Alright, next thing is to get this thing out of here somehow. Which I can't work out how to get it out. It turns around. Seems like it's all connected in there still. But any ideas, any hints will be appreciated. Well, now this has happened. I hope I haven't fucked it. Anyway, I might have to disconnect that airline there so I can move the whole housing out. Seal must be in behind there. Alright, well that sort of dislodged and all wanted to come out, so now I've got this situation. Yeah, hope I'm not in too deep. Alright, now that I'm in this situation, made up this plate. Just line up with these 4 bolts. I'm just got to put a bolt in the middle. So a nut has to be welded onto here. Drill a hole, weld a nut on, and then put a bolt through there which will screw down and separate the flange, hopefully. So here we go. Alright, time to weld on the nut onto the plate and go from there. Right, little description. So to get the flange out, it was actually really easy, no stress. I just made that plate so the holes line up for those 4 holes, and I chucked the 4 bolts back in and just ignore that one that wasn't needed, and then just do like one wind for each bolt as you go along, and it slowly lifts up the flange. And when the flange hits this, you just put packers underneath and it keeps raising until it just comes right out. So now got the flange out, and that is the seal there. Dig that guy out and put the new one in. So another little thing, all the gunk that had gathered down the bottom, right down in there, is all this crap. Alright, seals out. The best way to do it is just get any old screwdriver about that size and get in underneath and just lever it up in 3 or 4 spots like that, and she'll pop out. Alright, new seal is in, everything's clean, and it just went in pretty easy, fingers most of the way, and then just the last bit. To get the final bit in was just a bit of rubber mallet and block of wood, and that's in there nice and flat and tight and good. Alright, so I've had a good clean up of the whole thing. Flange is back in, that was easy. Bit of wood, rubber mallet, whack, 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 and it goes in no problem. How to get that back in. Oh, here's a good idea I found to clean the threads, is get just a cotton bud. Just do circles like that. Comes out with all that black crap. Turn them around. More black crap. Great way to clean it. And the bolts, the threads on the bolts, I'll just use a bit of terps with a toothbrush. Does a good job too. Alright, it's all put back together. The easiest way was that I've dropped the unit down from the top here and had someone else holding the weight underneath, and then once the center part is onto that spline in the transfer case, the weight gets held, so it's pretty easy. And then because the teeth on the gears are sort of angled, so as it's going in, put a couple of bolts back in here and rotate this slightly anti-clockwise as you're pushing it in, and that will allow the teeth to mesh together and for the whole unit to slide in to the back. Bolts are all in. Did some liquid gasket, Loctited the bolts, except one bolt broke down there. So the thread is Loctited in to the transfer case where the thread is, and there's just this hole. There's no thread in that first part there. So I'm not pulling the whole freaking thing apart again for that, so I'll have to work out some solution. No oil or anything can get out because the threaded part of the bolt's Loctited in. So anyway, I'll deal with that some other time. Alright, so I put these plastic sleeve things on with all that moly grease underneath, all wrapped around the ball. It's a bit awkward, hard to get that. It's like recessed and goes into the thing. It's hard to get that in all the way around. But I'm hoping just by putting that housing back on, it'll all pull it up neat and tight where it should be. Well, she's all back together. It was a bit of a pain in the ass getting that housing back on, just because the moly grease, I suppose, expanded the volume and made it hard for those what do you call them? Those rubber sleeve things that sit over the ball. But a few nudges and encouragements got that sorted out. Got oil back in, so we'll start her up and hopefully it works. Well, proof's in the pudding. So far so good. Just went for a, I don't know, about a 2k drive and no oil. First time I've seen that. Happy days.